Good afternoon, listeners. You're listening to Lament of Hope podcast, and I'm your host, Danielle Richardson, and I am very excited. I'm speaking with Ekaterina Shelehova. Many of you may have heard of her. She has beautiful music. A lot of sources call her an opera singer, but I think that's kind of limiting on what she actually does. She definitely sings opera beautifully, but she has very earthy, raw, ethereal type tones, kind of what you would hear on like a soundtrack. And so it's not just opera, it's kind of a mixture of a bunch of things. She actually released a single, I think it was a couple months ago, What My Mother Told Me. Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Mhm.
And it doesn't sound, it's much more of those earthy tones that I'm talking about. Um, but Ekaterina, I mean, I've got to say, thanks for taking the time. I know you're super busy, and I'm really happy we could connect.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm also very happy that we found this moment to be here together. So thank you for having me.
So, we were just talking about this before the podcast, but you've got a lot of stuff coming up. Do you want to just share, like, I know you mentioned a single, you have a concert, you have an album. There's a lot of things going on at the moment.
Yeah, so I actually have a single that's coming out in a week from now, so the 25th of October. And it's a very special track because I worked on it with a composer and producer, Thomas Art. And yeah, we tried to create a very meditative, very relaxed, very um, very chill kind of song. So
Mm,
it's not like what I've been releasing recently, which is very loud and epic and, um, with a lot of progression. So this is one to kind of relax to. I think that with the fall coming and, with the temperatures dropping, I think it's nice to have something that kind of brings us peace and kind of calms us down. And so this was kind of the idea behind the track. So I'm really
mm.
excited for that. And there's also a concert that I'm really excited about in Mexico City on the 9th of November in El Cantoral. Um, and I'm working alongside a really good friend and videographer to create a very kind of special show.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm really, really excited for that as well. Yeah, so lots of things cooking, I guess, always.
Is it a like televised show that people could purchase after, like an actual performance that will be recorded live that people could actually buy on DVD or something?
I wish. I wish. Yeah. We wanted to do that, but it ended up just being too much of logistic wise. And so we're
Okay.
going to create the show, and this is going to be the first time we perform the show, and hopefully in the future we can also record it and post it maybe on YouTube or wherever. I also want to say I'm so sorry for my voice. We've already talked with Danielle about this, but um, I got a little under the weather, and so I don't usually sound like a chain smoker. But today, unfortunately, this is what my voice is like. But it's not like this all the time, I promise.
It really doesn't sound bad. It really doesn't. But I was gonna ask you, what ambitions do you have? Like, what would you like for, 10 years down the road or however many years? I mean, what would you love to see your music career turn into?
I always get this question, and for me, it's already such a privilege, and um, I'm so lucky to be able to produce my own music and to release it and have a solid um, fan base slash friend base is what I tend to call my followers. They're all my dear friends, and it's already such a privilege. And for me, 10 years from now, I would just love to be able to continue creating music and creating things from my soul and and hopefully continuing on the path um, that is truly, what I want to do without having to stray, without having to do anything that I don't feel aligned with. So
Hmm.
right now, I'm very grateful to be able to do that, and I hope that never changes. Where the road will take me, I don't know. I just hope that I'm able to, do what I love and continue to do what I love and to perform for my dear friends, and that's all I can really hope for and wish for.
You were talking about soulful music, that your music comes from the soul. Is there a particular song you wrote that you found really hard to write because it was very vulnerable of you to write it?
Definitely. So for the time being, the songs I've released have all been a lot about enlightenment, about um, a lot of very positive energy. I did finish my album, which is coming out in 2025, and there are definitely some songs there that are very vulnerable. They are, there's a few very personal songs that hopefully also speak to others. And but yeah, but definitely, I think we have to be vulnerable when we write music. We have to speak from the depths of whatever is screaming inside, um, and that's the only way that we can really continue on an authentic path, and and just continue that, I guess.
Yeah. Is there a story you could share behind one of those tracks?
Well, one of my tracks is dedicated to my mother.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, she was my bestest friend in the entire world, and so I dedicated this song to her as much as I dedicate every song that I write and sing and perform to her. But this one was very special, and when we recorded it, um, we did a few different takes, and then um, my producers, they told me to really focus and think about who this song was for, and I focused on my mom, and we recorded it in one take, and that ended up being the take that we used for the song. So
Hmm.
I'm excited to share that one, really excited to see what people feel when they listen to it as well.
Did she pass away?
Yeah, she passed away about a little less than a year ago, so
Oh,
it was
wow.
very difficult uh, chapter of my life. I think one of the hardest things I ever will have to go through in life. Um, but I keep going and I keep making music because she's always been, such a big supporter of my art and my weird eccentric journey, and breaking out of the operatic scene. She's always been a very big supporter of everything, and so I just, I have to continue um, for her.
What's your favorite memory of your time with her?
I don't know. I can't really pick. She was truly like my best friend and soulmate, so it's very hard to choose. We used to sing. Um, we used to sing songs together, and we used to create like little melodies. And so it became a habit for me to just create songs out of thin air. A lot of the time with songs that already exist, and just creating different lyrics for them depending on what I'm doing. And it just became such a habit. We did that all the time, and that was a lot of fun. My whole life we used to do that, so yeah, that was fun.
Can I ask how she passed away?
I would prefer to just, keep it at that, and
Okay.
you know, we, yeah, yeah.
How did you?
It's a part of life, but that's
Oh,
all
yeah.
I'd like to kind of
Oh,
say
yeah, of
about it.
course. Did you, how did you process your grief? Because you losing a loved one is not something I've yet experienced. I've had close friends who've experienced it, and it's not something, of course, I'm looking forward to, but I know I will eventually. Um, how did you, do you think you did it in a way that was, I guess, were you proud of how you grieved it? Or for you was the grieving process very difficult and something that you kind of it was like survival day by day? Or
Oh my gosh, I didn't expect these questions. Yeah, I think everybody processes things differently. I think I was very lucky to have a very, very strong support system.
oh
People
good.
around me who loved me and who I loved a lot, and so um, and I think I channeled a lot of that energy into creating new music um, and just moving forward with that because yeah, in our family, it was always very important to persevere and to continue, and it was very therapeutic to be able to kind of continue making art and perform and
Yeah.
continue to share music because that's what she would have wanted and it really opened my heart to a lot of deeper emotions and deeper feelings of things. And I think that it really shaped um, my kind of identity as an artist. I think this last year has been very, very, um, has changed me a lot. I mean, in obvious ways, but it has also kind of, like I said, deepened my emotions for things. And I think the
Hmm.
music that I've started to write afterwards became very different from what I wrote before. So the album that's coming out was written like a year and a half ago. And the second album that I'm already writing now is very, very different.
Oh wow.
And so I'm happy that I get to, you know, do that as well and explore my grief in a very musical kind of way because it definitely does help. So
Well, I was gonna say, 'cause your voice, obviously I've heard the operatic songs, but I've also heard when you've kind of just, it almost feels like the soul is crying. I don't know how to explain it, but when a vocalist is singing without music, or just like a very meditative sound in the background that's not really a sound, but it is, but the human voice is just kind of letting itself go. And I've seen you do that in some of your performances. And when I was speaking to some other musicians, they were saying that the human voice is like more beautiful than music. Like it is the most beautiful music, even if you didn't have any background tracks or anything. For you, like, do you find that just vocal music is the most impactful or emotional to you? Or do you really like there to be like not just a melody, but lyrics and a background track? Obviously, those things are great. But do you find the most connection in just a vocalizing of sound, or do you really prefer to have words and music in the background?
It depends on many factors. It depends on my mood. It depends on so many things. I think all types of music can hit us in and touch us in very different ways depending on, lots of things. Um, I will say I do think that the voice is a very, um, you know, very strong um, instrument that can move um, a person and make them feel things um, and but I also think lyrics are very important sometimes as well and melody and other instruments, so it's a tough call and tough and question to answer just because it's so like music has so many components
Yeah.
um and you can like and feel things differently depending on the day and your emotional state. Sometimes I like to listen to just, I don't know, symphonies or I something by say Sans, and then another day I just listen to I don't know, Shakira all day. And it's honestly like you don't know, right? So it's a very I can't really answer that and say this, I feel this, because it's always fluid.
Do you have a particular song that you've written that you think came out exactly the way you wanted it to?
Hmm. I would say yes. Usually, because I work with such professionals and just not even professionals, but brilliant, brilliant people, I've always found that every idea and song that I've written has become like 10 times better after it was produced. And that's just because I'm very, very lucky to be working with incredible, incredible people. Um, but for example, Fly Away was exactly what I had dreamed of. I wrote the song when I was 16 years old, and then I kind of put it on a shelf because I didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't know really who could arrange it and orchestrate it the way that I had imagined it in my head. And then fast forward 10 years, and I did a collaboration on Now We're Free with Emanuele Tedeschi here in Rimini in Italy. And I gave him the song. I said, you know, see what you can do with it. And he sent it back to me exactly the way that I had always imagined it. So yeah, it's always either that or better. It's always been that.
What makes you feel the most free, just in personally in your life? What makes you feel the most free and carefree? Just less burdened by worries or stress or work or whatever it is. What makes you feel the most free as a person?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Family, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been a very family oriented person. Um, and so, any times that I have free, I try to be as close to my family as possible. And those are the moments where, yeah, I feel all my stress goes away, almost too much. And then I have to be like, okay, I need to actually do stuff. Because whenever I'm home, whenever I'm with family, I feel so, so good. And it's such a cliche answer, and I feel like everybody relates to this, but I truly am very, very close to my family and to the people that are close to me. So yeah, I guess that's where I feel most free. Or I guess maybe um, whenever I go on, little hikes or I'm in a forest, also a little cliche and a little cheesy, but um, in the midst of nature, in the midst of,
Yeah.
when I go camping, for example, with my family, I feel so free, so liberated. And yeah, so those are always the special moments that unfortunately, with a traveling artist, don't come too often. But when they do, I think that's why I appreciate them so much more because they're not constant.
Is there a typical family tradition you guys have that you love and enjoy?
We have many, but we used to go camping a lot, so that was kind of our tradition every summer. We used to go camping. Hopefully next year we'll be able to do that as well. This year was a bit hectic because I had tours with Waracles half of the summer, and then the rest of the summer I was just kind of relaxing from that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we've always had a tradition of, doing that and going into the woods and yeah, always nature oriented. My parents always loved nature as well, so always always something to do with some kind of hike or some kind of camping experience or something like that.
Are you the only singer in the family, or did everyone love music?
So I'm the only, I guess, professional musician in the family. I think most of my family is very musical, but most of my family are either doctors or engineers.
Oh,
My uncle
wow.
used to be, yeah, so I have no idea where I came from, but my uncle, he used to work for the radio, and so he wrote jingles for the radio. And I remember my first memories at 3, 4 years old were helping him record these little jingles at the radio stations, like little commercials, and I would be part of them once in a while. So I guess I get my passion from him. And but my dad, for example, I mean, my mom had a beautiful singing voice, and my dad always loved collecting vinyl and always having music playing in the house. And so I grew up with a very, very diverse kind of um, uh, like a big variety of different genres of music because
Hmm.
one day he would turn on Alice, the next day he would turn on Deep Purple, next day it'd be Led Zeppelin, the other day Julio Iglesias, like so it was always a big mashup of so many genres, and I think that's also what helped me kind of develop my own voice and my own sound and idea because of that as well. So.
Oh, wow. That must have been so nice to grow up with so much different. It seems like just also like very culturally aware and oriented with a lot of different types of music.
Yeah, I was very lucky, and my dad always tried to instill that in us to never really reject anything before you really listened to it, or you really tried it, or you tasted it, or you saw it. And so I grew up with a very open mind, especially when it comes to music. And I think that really helped me a lot to kind of, you know, do my own stuff after the conservatory. So,
Is there a particular culture that you really feel close to? I mean, I know you're Russian, but I mean, you've been all over the place. Is there like a particular culture you really enjoy or resonate with?
I always see myself, I mean, this is a very diplomatic answer, but I always see myself as, a person of the world, truly, because I started my life in Russia. My cultural background is Russian, and I do feel very deeply connected to it because my parents also taught me a lot of Russian songs, and I read a lot of Russian literature. I saw a
Hmm.
plethora of Russian movies growing up. And even though I was raised in Canada, my family tried to hold on to a lot of beautiful Russian culture, and a lot of, I mean, the literature, the music, everything is so gorgeous. Um, and then I moved to Italy, and of course oh, did you see that? I did like a little thumbs up.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah, that's so weird. Um, so when I moved to Italy, it was the same. I mean, I appreciated it and loved the Italian culture, and it was really ingrained in me as well because I've
Hmm.
been living here for 10 years. I also did a little detour and lived for a little while in Mexico City during COVID for personal reasons, um, and that culture really stayed with me as well because for me, Mexico is one of the most beautiful places on earth, and the people, the culture, the food, the music, everything there also just blew me away. So I don't know, I've always kind of absorbed like a sponge any kind of culture that I came across, and I feel like that's really made me a little bit of a person of the world. And it's hard for me to just, you know, connect or choose one because I feel very deeply connected to many.
Well, I know so little about Russia. When you were talking about Russian literature and Russian music and food and um, the traditions you were talking about, what are some unique ones you could share? Because I mean, I know I've read some Russian literature, but I think that's basically it.
Well, I mean, I was forced as a child to memorize a lot of Pushkin, for example. He's a Russian poet.
Hmm.
Um, so, yeah, I mean, I grew up on his literature, for example. Um, and God, like Dostoevsky and Um, God, like for music, I mean, there's so many. Tchaikovsky, Dergamyrsky,
Yeah.
I mean, Rachmaninoff, Jesus, the list. I could name many, but I'm not prepared, and I have a memory of a goldfish. So when you put me on the spot, I'm like, I don't know what to say. But yeah, I mean, and for food, let's not even, I mean, there's so much food, and I think, because Russia's so big that um, we kind of absorbed a lot of different cultures, um, just in Russia alone, and so the food is very different depending on like where you're going, where you're
Hmm.
staying. But um,
Is it
like
better than
I love, for
Italian food?
it's different. Like it's hard to choose. Um, I would say that Russian food is much more diverse just because Russia is so much bigger and we have so many different nationalities and cultures kind of mixed in one little hot pot. So it's much more diverse. And yeah, but it's all good in its own way. I mean, Mexican cuisine, for example, is one of my favorites, um, but it's just very different. It's hard to
Yeah.
compare a goose and a hare. I don't
Well,
know. I don't know where I got that from.
well, you seem like you actually, I mean, you just, like you said, you kind of just absorb the environment you're in and you enjoy it. It's not like you really go, oh, this is better than something else.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, I think that mindset is, I don't know, sometimes even dangerous. And so I just try to see the beauty in each culture in its own way and um and try not to compare it with others. Because at the end of the day, I feel like we're all very similar, we're all the same. Our hearts beat so cheesy, Jesus, but our hearts beat the same, the blood's the same in all our veins, as cliche, but it's truly, I think we're all very much the same, and our differences are actually what make us so beautiful and unique, um, and so I find the beauty in the differences in the culture, and I try not to compare and instead just appreciate. That's all.
Is there a place you haven't been that you want to go to?
Oh my God, so many.
Yeah.
Um, Japan being one of them.
Yeah.
I've always dreamed of going to Japan. Um, I really want to go to Vietnam for the food, for the nature, for everything. Yeah, Argentina, Chile, Brazil. My God, the list goes on and on. And I just hope that I'm able to explore those places at some point in my life. So, yeah.
Can you go to a country only if you're touring there or like have a performance there? Or could you go like on a vacation, or is it more if your work is connected somehow to the country?
So um I love performing in new places. I love, you know, meeting the people there and getting to know the culture there in that way. And so most of my trips have been work trips just because
Okay.
I love combining, I guess work with pleasure because for me, my work is pleasure. And so being able to share my music and share just my passion for music and to be able to explore the city is like two in one. Like it's the best gift I could ever have. Um, and I actually had my first vacation this year after so many years that I was like, I need to plan something where I don't sing or I don't do anything. And so actually my my vacation this year was like the first one that I've planned in a very long time, and it was very, very nice actually. So now I think I'm gonna, book a few more like that because I liked it as well. So
Where did you go?
I went to Mallorca, Spain,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was very, very nice, very, very nice.
I have never been to Spain. I've always wanted to go to Italy for sure, but Spain would be
Mm.
cool too. My uh, grandmother immigrated from Naples, and so I've always wanted to
Mhm.
go back and visit there. Um,
Oh yeah, the food there is outrageous,
I
really.
know it's a dream. It's a dream, but money and uh, I don't know how you feel about this, but in America, time is kind of we're a slave to time, and so
Hmm.
business and busyness and what I gotta do and time kind of runs our lives, sadly, I think. I mean, for
Yeah.
you, even, do you feel that way, or have you been able to separate from that pressure of time deadlines? Because you probably feel it even a little more because you're a professional musician, and so there are certain times when things have to come out, and you have to come out with ideas, and your social media has to be updated, and all these things. Um, do you feel that way, that time has become something that you are always thinking about, or do you find a way to kind of disconnect from that?
I think, being, I guess, a little sort of self-employed, I have a little more freedom in deciding when I do what and how I do things. So I think, I do succumb a little bit to that mindset of like, oh, I have to do this by then, and like, all this stress of time. But I think I'm very, very lucky and privileged to be able to choose. I guess when I do things, I mean, technically, I can just say, you know what, I don't want to release the track next Friday. Let's release it a week after, because being an independent artist, you have that flexibility and that
Hmm.
leeway. Um, I mean, it all comes at a cost, obviously, and you have to be, aware of that. And so, for sure, for us, the time is of the essence sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but I try very hard um, to schedule my time wisely and to always have time to rest and to recharge, because, to create art, to create music, you need to be healthy with a good state of mind, and there's so much that goes into it, um, and if you're just rushing to just get things done, it's no longer art and you know just a product to release. And I
Hmm.
try not to move into that mindset, and instead maybe take more time, but release and give a product that I'm happy with, not just, from like the product, I guess, um, itself, but also like just it, resonating with really truly what I want to say. And
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Do you ever compare yourself to other musicians? Is that hard? That because there's so many of you. I mean, obviously you are unique, but there also are some musicians that are similar to you in what they do. Do you ever feel the pressure of comparison at all?
Um, I think I might have, when I first started out, I think it was a lot of a bigger pressure when I was just singing classical music, for example.
Okay.
Um, because, in opera and classical music, you're performing someone else's repertoire most of the time. And so
Yeah.
um, then it's very hard not to compare yourself, because at the end of the day, you are just performing someone's rep, someone like another composer's aria, and of course, you listen to others and you think, oh man, I could have done that better, or I could have. So that was very, very difficult for me. But coming into my own repertoire, especially the fact that I write my own music, um, I don't really feel that pressure, I guess, anymore, just because
Okay.
I try to avoid it, and I try to kind of stay off that mindset of, um, especially other people's accomplishments or what they're doing, because I always feel like, as hippie as it sounds, I truly believe the universe is guiding me in a way that's at my own pace, and I feel like everybody has their own pace in life, um, and everybody has their own journey that they have to go through, and I think, being able to create my own things and be able to compose, I've just been on my own journey and just and embracing and enjoying what I'm having and everything that's happening for me, and just being happy for the people that are also succeeding and are also doing things, because at the end of the day, um, you know, it's beautiful that there's others that get to do that as well. And
Yeah.
if we think about us being the only ones that can do this, and and looking at others and thinking that of them as competition, I feel like you've lost, because the only competition that truly matters is against yourself. you know Being
Mm,
able to persevere and to continue and to always move ahead, and truly, like, that's the only battle that's important, and the only comparison, I guess, is just being a better you and doing things better every single day, and that's
mm.
all. Yes.
What do you find most beautiful about living? Because you were mentioning the universe, you're mentioning moving at your own pace, which is a very calming statement, honestly. Um, what do you find most beautiful about living on Earth and being alive?
I guess just the fact that we exist is already beautiful enough, I think.
Hmm.
um, I think being able to find the beauty in everything, in the smallest things, and appreciating the tiniest of gestures of others,
Mm.
and in the kindness of others, and it's the I think the most beautiful thing in life, I guess, is the kindness of others. I mean, gosh, I'm being so cliche this whole conversation, but it's truly what I believe. I think that, you know, what like witnessing small gestures, witnessing um, love all around. I'm very lucky and privileged to be able to say that, because I have a safe roof over my head, and not many people do, unfortunately. But I think the beauty in life is those small things. There's always those small things, and as soon as you see those small things, life always becomes worth living, because yeah, it's not about those grand big things. It's always about those tiny things.
Is there like something kind someone did for you that you still remember?
Oh, all the time, all the time. Um, I'm just very, very lucky to always encounter just very, very good people. Um, I think I think people are good in a lot of ways, and I feel like I've always been very lucky to attract good people. But I mean, to think of something at the top of my head, I don't even know. I mean, I was struggling with my luggage the other day, and someone offered to help me with it, which was so nice. And um, yeah, I don't know. I was in Istanbul, and I was standing in the train by myself, and these three gentlemen, they guided me kind of to a safer corner where I could just, like, not be in the midst of everybody moving around. It's like those
Hmm.
tiny little things, but it's always so nice. And yeah, yeah, I guess.
So you really pay attention to small details. Because to be honest, I think a lot of people, me included, we wouldn't really think about that. It would just be like, oh, that was nice, but it wouldn't like stick out.
hmm Well, I think, like I said, I think life is made out of those tiny little details, and I think the more we acknowledge and see them, the more we, I guess, appreciate them and appreciate life in general a lot more. It's very hard. It's very easy to kind of um, to forget all of that, and
Yeah.
but yeah, I try to kind of be very, very aware of everything going on, and I try to be aware of everyone around me, and I try to make eye contact with as many people as possible. Not that that sounds creepy. I don't do like that. But like I try to
Oh yeah.
I try to smile at people on the street. Like I try to kind of look around me and to always just be aware of what's going on, and yeah, and so those little things are very, very evident to me, and not only in people but just in in life in general, you know. Um, Very small things amuse me, and very small things excite me. And therefore, I can always find a good positive reason to be alive every single day, even if the, everything else is sucky. But there's always those little things that make life worth living, I think.
Hmm. What what do you think is something that's hard that you don't like about living?
Hmm. Uh, Calculating my own taxes. I hate that. Take it away. Um,
Oh, that's right, 'cause you
yeah.
gotta do your own. That's true, 'cause you're self-employed. Oh, I'm sorry.
Uh, yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of irksome things. But like I said, I'm very, very, I acknowledge my privilege in the world, and my um I guess ability to, have that be a problem and that be an issue. Um, so I don't think I can really say something too difficult, because I'm just, like I said, I feel like I'm very lucky to have the life I do, and I try to always just be very conscious of that, and always thank the universe every single day for it, and not kind of take it for granted. But yeah, taxes. And what else? Oh, I don't even know. Having to lotion. God, I don't know what it is, but like, like your skin gets all dry, and
Yes.
every time I have to do it every day, I'm thinking I'm taking like 10 minutes of my life every single day to do this because my elbow is dry. Like what? Like it's so annoying. That's
I
such a difficult
understand.
part of
I
right? Or
understand.
like getting cavities. Getting cavities is the worst. Is the worst. And you just think, why do teeth have to have that? Why couldn't they just been built out of rock? It'd been so easy. So easy. Why didn't evolution think of that? Why did it create it out of some minerals that go bad in your mouth? Anyway, so those are my little laments at life. But also obviously very privileged laments. So yeah,
Well, I was gonna
it
say
is
you
what it
probably do you eat a lot of sweets? Is that why you get the cavities?
actually I don't. I just from, genetics, like I just don't have
Oh,
the best like I don't know, my brother's never gotten a cavity. But as a child I had many because just out of genetics, and my teeth weren't that good. Not because I didn't brush my teeth or I ate a plethora of sweets. It's just the way the minerals in my mouth decided to just do their magic. But you know, as an adult, it's all fine now. But I remember as a kid, I was always the one that always had the cavities, and I was like struggling, stressed about it because I was like, oh my god, I've
fillings
brought
are
shame on my family.
well, fillings also are not. I had the same problem as a kid. I was always the one who had them, and fillings were always I hated them. They just you felt the grating and everything.
Oh, the
And they
worst,
press
the
down and
worst.
then yeah, it's awful. Um,
Yeah,
so maybe a dentist is a hardship in life, huh? Maybe.
truly is. Yeah.
Sorry to dentists who are listening. We definitely appreciate you, but also at the same time we
We
don't.
love you.
Yeah.
No.
Um, do you, just talking about sweets, I'm curious, do you have a favorite sweet? You've been in so many places. Is there like a specific dessert you really like?
Oh, I love tiramisu.
Yeah.
I would sell soul or what's left of it for the tiramisu. I that was a joke, by the way. I did not sell my soul. For some reason, I got this comment a few times before, and I was like, where would I sell it and for what? Who wants it? Nobody. But yeah, tiramisu for sure. Um, God, I just love sweets. But I used to be a bigger sweet fan when I was younger. Now I'm a little bit more towards the savory and then something like very small for a sweet, which is so shameful to say because my younger self would be like kicking me for even saying that. But yeah, I love tiramisu. I love
So maybe
cheesecake. I love
cheesecake's good.
cake.
I was gonna say too, like what's it called? The Italian cookie. You know what I'm talking about? That you dip
Like
into
the
coffee or tea.
oh,
Um,
like the amarone or something. I don't know what they're called. I don't
um,
know. I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
And
you
actually, I'm not a big fan of those because I like soft desserts
okay.
because um because I'm a grandma and I need to, have things soft. I can't have crunchy things. It just bothers me a bit. So, I
Do
like
you
the
like ice
soft
cream?
ones. Yeah, I like ice cream. I've never been like a huge lover of ice cream, but if someone offers me ice cream, I won't say no. But I'm not like a passionate for it.
I was thinking back to what you said about the universe, and I mean, and you can tell me if you don't want to answer this or not, and that's totally fine. But I was gonna say, is there ever a time when you were mad at the universe?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, in the last year there have been a lot of um there's been a lot of anger. Um but well, I wouldn't say a lot. I wouldn't say a lot, but I always try to think that the universe, I guess, knows what it's doing, and I try to, I guess, continue and kind of try to understand the lessons, behind what the universe does, as hard as those lessons might be.
Yeah,
I think some of them are very my God, inevitable, inevitable. Did I say it right?
you did
Am
great.
I
Yeah,
literate?
yeah.
Okay. Um, I think life sometimes is very unjust, but I always try to, you know, focus on what those lessons might be, and just keep going, and continue to be grateful for the positive things that the universe gives.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think, like I said, I'm very speaking from a very privileged um, kind of high chair when I say that. But yeah, I try to just focus on that, and I feel like being angry doesn't really solve anything, and um, it doesn't make you feel better. It doesn't make anybody feel better.
Mm.
I think just continuing on a very peaceful kind of mindset, and a positive outlook on everything also helps you in the long run. So being angry at it doesn't accomplish much, I guess. So
Yeah. And is like when you say universe, is a universe for you like a higher power or a universe like actually the world when you say universe?
I guess it's a mixture of both.
Okay.
I do consider myself a bit, a spiritual person. Um, and yeah, for me, it's kind of a mixture of both. And yeah, it's kind of hard to describe, but it's just, I guess, it's a very personal thing. Everybody feels differently about it, but it's kind of a combination of both for me. So,
I was speaking to Lisa Gerard about this, and she was saying that, many people define music as spiritual, but she wouldn't necessarily say that. music is actually spiritual. Um, because she thinks that word, she was saying how that word is overused so much. Um, do you think that, do you think that music is spiritual? Like, how do you feel about when you sing? Do you feel like um, it's a spiritual connection for you, or it's spiritual, or do you do you think of music in different terms than spirituality?
I think music can be spiritual. I think it really depends on how you look at it and what kind of music it is and what the I guess what the message the music is saying, and what it what it's trying to um, I guess give forth.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it can be, and I think it's different for everybody. I think people can, you know, connect to it spiritually, or they might not. There's people who are spiritual. There's people who aren't, and they might interpret music in a different way and not use the word spiritual. So I think it's a very personal thing. For me personally, um, when I perform, for example, I mean, it is true. Spiritual is a little bit of a overused word, I guess, in a lot of ways. I agree with Lisa Gerard. I would agree with anything that miraculous woman says. So, um, honestly, but for me, when I perform, it does connect to my spirituality and to kind of what I believe and how I perceive the world. And um, so for me, it does connect to it, and I try to, um, I guess, bring that forth when I do sing.
Yeah.
And I try to connect with that which I feel, and I think that makes a very big difference for me personally. But it's a very, I guess, personal thing, and a feeling as well. So
Yeah. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, so I'm just gonna ask one more question. When I hear your voice, it reminds me of nature speaking, and that's just me. When I listen to your voice, that's how I feel, and um, it sounds to me like nature itself is talking or saying something. Do you, is there a particular element of nature that if you were not human and you became something in nature, whether it be like an animal or a, a tree or an ocean or whatever, what would you like to be if you weren't human?
I love that question. Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. Let me think. Let me think. Do 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 do. Like the Jeopardy
We've definitely
melody.
crossed off tooth. You wouldn't like to be a tooth.
I
So
would
that's
not like to be a two. You're right. You're right. So we one option less. Um, I mean, I would definitely. I don't know. I think I'd like to be a bird.
yeah,
Um, yeah, like a bald eagle or something. Some really cool and protected so nobody can shoot me down or go to jail if they do. No, I don't know. I would love to be a bird. I would love to be a waterfall. Um, I could see myself as being Niagara, the Canadian side especially. It's
yeah. Oh, it's
nice and big.
beautiful.
But yeah, I don't know. I I guess a bird. I guess a bird.
Well, birds are very free. I think that's what's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. And when we watch them too, it's just like they're very free, they're independent, they're beautiful, they make beautiful sounds. So that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
Ekaterina, I want to say, first of all, thank you so much for your time. And also, I loved getting to know you in a little more personal way. Just, your life a little bit and your family and your love of music. But also, it was fun hearing about your teeth and lotion and just small things like that. I think it's the small things like you said that help us to kind of know you a little bit beyond just what we see in the videos and the music. So I'm very grateful. Thank you for being willing to do this.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for such inspiring and interesting conversation. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I'm very much looking forward to your music. So I can't wait for your single and your new album.
Yeah, I'm excited for those two, to release those babies into the world, and hopefully um, they resonate with my audience as well.
Well, they will. Well, bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.